Welcome to the Putnam County Library's Lunch and Learn series. Today we have Pam Brown and Rebecca Molina from Insight Counseling Centers to talk to us today. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you, Catherine, and thank you for being here, and thank you to those who are watching us online. I'm Pam Brown, and it's my honor to serve as Executive Director of Insight Counseling Centers. And Insight Counseling Centers has a mission to restore lives to wholeness, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. We do that by providing counseling to individuals, couples, and families, and we offer counseling on an income-based fee scale, because we have a really important mission and desire to make counseling affordable to as many people as possible. And I'm delighted to let you know, if you didn't already know, we have a counseling office right here in Cookeville, Tennessee. The good people of First United Methodist Church provide us with pro bono space. We are our own separate nonprofit agency, and we're grateful to Cookeville First United Methodist Church for that space. It is my pleasure to introduce you to my colleague, Rebecca Molina, and I'm going to refer to my notes so I don't miss anything that I really wanted to let you know about. Rebecca graduated with her master's degree in marriage and family therapy from Lee University. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist and is a member of the American Association of Marriage and Family Therapy. She believes everyone deserves to be heard and that people have more power in their situations than they realize. And Rebecca is one of our therapists who see clients here in Cookeville. She's here on Tuesdays for that, so we hope that you will avail yourself of Rebecca's expertise. And now, again, it's my pleasure to introduce my colleague, Rebecca Molina, and she is going to give us some real talk, how to get therapy and why people don't. Rebecca, come on up.
Thank you for the introduction, Pam. Thank you to the Putnam County Library for hosting us today. You might have heard this before, maybe not, but therapists are known for asking questions. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys a couple questions, and I hope that you can engage with me today, okay? When I say the words mental health, what comes to mind?
Self-care.
Self-care, okay, that's good. Yeah.
Depression.
Depression, yes.
Anxiety.
Okay, yeah. Things like that, maybe just therapy in general, right? So when I say therapy, what comes to mind? What's the image that you get when I say therapy?
Couch talk.
Couch talk, okay. Yeah, very good. So therapy, do we know like what people go to therapy for? Like what do we hear the reasons people go? What are some reasons that you've heard maybe for yourself or for other people?
Some type of event in their life that they need help navigating.
Yeah. So there's actually a wide variety of reasons why people come to therapy. It could be anxiety and depression. People could have gone through something traumatic and they need to talk about that. Maybe sometimes people have lost someone and they're grieving and they need to talk to someone. You have couples who are having relationship problems and they need to come talk to a therapist. Or maybe they're gonna get married, and so we see couples for premarital counseling. We also have parents who come in just for themselves, just what it is to be a parent, but also to learn parenting hacks. Sometimes we see them bring in their kids because their kids might be going through something, maybe having some behavioral issues that they need to address. And sometimes, if we're lucky enough, we get to see whole families come into therapy, and that is a lot of fun, at least in my opinion. So yeah, we have more serious things that we address in therapy, like addictions or eating disorders or self-harm thoughts. Maybe even spiritual issues. And sometimes people come in just because they're feeling stressed out and they need to talk to someone, right? Or they're going through life transitions, because we obviously all go through that, right? So those are some of the reasons that people come to therapy. Now, because there are a wide variety of reasons people come to therapy, there are also a wide variety of treatments or modalities that we use to help people. So one popular one is cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT. And the focus of CBT is to take the thoughts, or pay attention to your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, and you challenge your negative thoughts in order to change your behaviors. Another one is dialectic behavioral therapy, which is very similar to CBT, same kind of focus, except it focuses more on the emotion. And the goal is to help regulate your emotions through mindfulness and sitting with yourself and sitting with the emotion instead of just pushing on through. For couples, there's a very popular therapy modality called EFT, or emotionally focused therapy. And the goal for this is to help couples grow in their attachment to one another by breaking the negative cycles of interactions that they may be having. So a lot of this is talk therapy. And we think of therapy, we're thinking talk therapy. But it might surprise you to learn that therapy can be more than just talk. In fact, there's a certain type of therapy called EMDR. I'm gonna explain the acronym. I might need your help with one word because every time I try to say it, it does not work for me. But it stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy, okay? So this therapy, what it is the person who's gone through something traumatic will be talking about their trauma and doing certain eye movements. And that has been shown to be helpful for them. They use it a lot for people who've been in the military or any kinds of trauma. Another somewhat version, it's in the same family, but a little bit different, is brain spotting, where you will have someone, again, talking about their trauma, and you have the therapist kind of moving your finger or moving some sort of stick, and it helps them regulate their body in a certain way. It's very weird, very cool, but it's not just talk therapy. For kids, they don't really talk the way that we talk, and they can't really express themselves the way that we express ourselves as adults. So they need play. They express themselves through play. So there is such a thing as play therapy. And you might think that, all you're doing is just playing games, but no, you are playing games, but there is a reason you are playing these games, and these games teach us, or teach kids, how to communicate. For example, you could play Feelings Uno, which is one of my favorite games, right? So you would assign a color, you would assign an emotion to each color in the Uno deck, and every time somebody puts it down, they talk about a time that they felt that emotion. And it is a lot of fun. Maybe, something that's not just a game is this thing called sand tray or sand play, where you take a tray of sand and you have a bunch of figurines and you ask a kid, or an adult, if because we're all technically kids, to create a world. And you'd be surprised how much can be said through somebody's world, what they're really feeling and thinking. I've seen it in my own clients, just what a transformative experience it is. It's such a beautiful thing. And then you have things like art therapy. And now art therapy, there is such a thing as art therapy, where you have a professional art therapist who's gone through all the training. But there are a lot of therapists who also incorporate art with their clients. And the thing that I always see is it's good to have something that's outside of you, right? Use kind of the right brain and be creative, because we all have that part, like us connecting to our play part in our brain, right? So those are just some ways. There's other types of therapies, but just a couple that can address some of the things that we had mentioned earlier. So we got why people need help, we got some forms of help, but now let's talk about why people don't get help. So I want to start talking about that by addressing stigmas, and we're going to start with the social stigmas. Culturally, whether it be international culture or state culture, regional, or even community culture or generational culture, there is a stigma that going to therapy means that you're weak, because we should all be able to somehow process through our problems by ourselves, or not talk about our problems, just push through. We just got to survive. If in the past they survived without therapy, then surely it's okay. But there's a difference between surviving and being healed while surviving, right? So that is one stigma. Another stigma is therapy is only for crazy people. Now, maybe you guys didn't catch this, but I asked you guys what the words mental health means to you. What would have popped into your brain if I would have said mental illness? You probably would have thought about somebody who's crazy. And the media doesn't help with that, right? TV shows, movies, even the news, they highlight someone that is mentally ill, and because they love the drama, they focus on all the negative parts of a person, right? So a lot of people would not want to go to therapy, because then they think, well, I'm crazy. I must, if I go to this, they might have me committed, or maybe they'll force me to take medications. And so there's a lot of misinformation about going to therapy. So those are some social stigmas. For self-stigmas, it could be kind of that same mentality. I should be able to move on, past this. Like, whatever happened is in the past. I am supposed to move forward. I need to just block it out. I'm going to block it out. Maybe even being vulnerable might be an issue for some people. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to go into a room with someone you don't know and being able to share your innermost parts with them, right? So most people don't really want to do that. They don't want to talk to someone they don't know. Or maybe there's confidentiality fears. What if this person, especially in small communities, is out there blabbing my secrets to everybody? Or what if they, somehow it ends up on some news thing or somewhere, or what if my secrets are out there? Another issue is one's familiar and one might surprise you, but then there's the gender stigmas. For men, they aren't always allowed to express their emotions. And even though we've done amazing work towards that in the last century or so, really the last 10 years, there is still that stigma for men to not be able to share what they're feeling, or to go to therapy is weakness, or they're not being man enough in their situation. For women, they might gaslight themselves, and I use that term in a very colloquial way, I guess, in saying, well, I might just be overthinking it. I don't need it. I'm being emotional about this thing. I just need to kind of put it past me. Or maybe even they're people pleasers. They might say, well, I don't want to bother the therapist with my problems. Or, I help everybody else. If I start needing help, then I won't be able to help other people. And they don't come and get the help that they need. For some people, it could be something as simple as no time. I don't want to go to the office. I want to drive somewhere and see a therapist. I don't have time. I got to deal with the kids. I've got work. Or maybe they've had a bad experience with therapy. Maybe they tried it once and their therapist was not a good fit for them. And so they let that event kind of decide, I'm not going to go to therapy anymore, right? Can you guys guess what the number one reason people don't get help?
Money?
Yes, it's the cost of therapy. For some, therapy is expensive depending on how often you go and depending on where you go, right? For other people, they might just think that money, regardless of how much it is not worth spending on their mental health. So that is one of the reasons that they also do not come to therapy. So what can we change, or what can we do, say collectively, to address these matters? Well, for those that say that there is no time, there's such a thing called telehealth, One of the good things about the pandemic is that therapists were able to reach online, talk to people, and you can go to therapy from the comfort of your own home and your jammies with your cup of coffee, and you are in total comfort while talking to someone, right? For cost stuff, there's a lot of places that offer sliding fee scales, like Insight offers sliding fee scales. Some insurances, they have a list of therapists. If you find your particular insurance, you can find help there. And yeah, there's a thing called EAP, or employee assistance programs, that can also help. Some workplaces have this to level the cost of therapy. So there are already solutions to some of these problems. But I think as a society, what we could do is talk more about mental health, like us coming here today, talking about the different problems, creating safe spaces for each other to say, hey, I need help, right? There is a study done a long time ago on rats, where they had some rats, they drugged them up and they got addicted to drugs, and they put them by themselves, and then they took the same ones that were addicted and put them in a group of other rats, and the ones that were by themselves died because they were only focused on getting whatever drug, right? They had to keep feeding their addiction. And the mice that had, they were still addicted but were in community, they actually let go of their addiction. So there's something to be said for healing with a community and healing with each other. And the more that we talk about these things, the more that we open up the help for people, right? Another important thing to do is to look at people who have any sort of illness, whether it be something as simple as anxiety, which, anxiety is not simple, but we would classify that as, oh, that's not a big issue compared to something as serious as, say, schizophrenia. Regardless of what issue a person has, they are more than their issue. And we have a habit of looking at people and saying they're their problem, instead of saying there's somebody that has a problem, there's somebody that is sick, right? We were talking about illness, we're talking about mental health. It's the same. We have to give it the same importance as physical health, right? And we have to remember that people are more than their problems, right? And if you kind of have that mindset for other people, you have to have it for yourself too. And give yourself some compassion for what you've been through. The majority of the people are so resilient, right? Have pushed through so many problems. And sometimes we get tired of being resilient and we need to talk to someone to help us kind of carry the rest of the way through, right? So those are some things that we can do collectively, but also to ourselves. Life is tough and we're not alone. There are options for us, So with that in mind, some ways that you can get help. Really popular way, we have the insurance looking for what therapists are on their panels. And there's Psychology Today. If you look up, you can look up whatever, like the town you live in. You can look up what therapists, their gender, their religion, language, or any type of therapy, whatever you're looking for, you can find it. You'll find Insight on there if you look us up. And of course, like I said, Insight Counseling Centers, we have a lot of therapists. I know we have 2 here that work in Cookeville, but we have a bunch of other therapists that are able to meet online and can be very helpful with whatever, any kind of need. Some of the therapy modalities that I mentioned earlier, we have therapists that are trained and stuff like that. So if I haven't convinced you for therapy yet, I would love to do an activity with you guys. This activity is a slow, relaxing activity. I'm going to give some instruction, and I'm going to give you guys a minute with each instruction to do those things. Your mind is going to wander, and that is okay. We're not going to judge ourselves for our wandering minds. We're just going to say, okay, bring back the focus, just very nice and easy is what we're going to do. All right, so get comfortable and turn off any distracting sounds. And I want you to start by taking 3 long, deep breaths, okay? So go ahead. Okay. Now close your eyes and focus your attention on how you are feeling. Name the emotion silently to yourself. Use your imagination to envision what your emotion might look like if it had a shape. The image doesn't have to make sense to anyone but you. Just allow your imagination to give your emotion a form or a shape. Take a minute to do this and keep breathing slow breaths. Now open your eyes and put your focus on an object in the room where you're sitting. Notice what the object looks like. Notice the shape and color. Imagine what the object might feel like if you could hold it. Imagine what the object must weigh. Describe the object silently to yourself, being as descriptive as possible. Take a minute to do this and keep breathing. If your focus begins to drift, simply return your attention to the exercise without criticizing yourself. When you finish describing the object, close your eyes and return your focus to your emotion. Think of a sound that might be related to your emotion. The sound can be anything that you think describes your emotion. It can be a noise, a song, or whatever. When you're done describing the sound to yourself, think of an action related to your emotion. Again, it can be anything that further enhances your understanding of your emotion. Take a minute to do this and keep breathing slow, deep breaths. Now, keeping your eyes closed, redirect your attention to your sense of hearing. Notice any sounds that you can hear. Notice sounds you hear coming from outside your own room, and note to yourself what they are. Now become aware of sounds you hear coming from inside the room and note to yourself what they are. Try to notice even small sounds, such as the ticking of a clock, the sound of the wind, the beating of your heart. If you become distracted by any thoughts, return your focus to your sense of hearing. Take a minute to do this and keep breathing. When you have finished listening to the sounds you can notice, return your focus to your emotion. Keeping your eyes closed, silently describe the intensity and quality of your emotion to yourself. Again, feel free to be creative and use comparison if you need to. Take a minute to do this and keep breathing slow, deep breaths. Once again, redirect your attention. This time, put your focus on your sense of smell. Notice any smells that are in the room, pleasant or otherwise. If you don't notice any smells, just become aware of the flow of air moving in your nostrils as you breathe in through your nose. Try your best to maintain your focus on your sense of smell. If you become distracted by any thoughts, return your focus to your nose. Take a minute to do this and keep breathing. When you have finished using your sense of smell, once again return your focus to your emotion. Notice any thoughts you might be having that are related to your emotion. Be specific about the thought as you can, and make sure your thought isn't really another emotion. Take a minute to do this and keep breathing slow, deep breaths. Now finally, redirect your attention to your sense of touch. Reach out with one of your hands to touch an object that is within reach. Or if there is no object within reach, touch the chair you're sitting in or touch your leg. Notice what the object feels like. Notice if it's smooth or rough. Notice if it's pliable or rigid. Notice if it's soft or solid. Notice what the sensations feel like on the skin of your fingertips. If your thoughts begin to distract you, simply return your focus to the object that you're touching. Take a minute to do this and keep breathing slow, deep breaths. When you've finished, take 3 deep, long breaths and return your focus to the room. All right, how does everyone feel after that? Feel good, right? Relaxed, yes. This comes from DBT. As you can see, it is kind of balancing your thoughts and your emotion, and also incorporating the 5 senses, which DBT is known for mindfulness and focusing on that, which is a good way to feel more relaxed. So yeah, any questions about anything that we've talked about today?
How do we get in contact with you all?
Yeah, so you can look up our website at insightcounselingcenters.org, and that will have all our information on how to call. We do have a phone number, but I don't have it from the top.
I'm gonna come up
Pam,
and give
yeah.
that, as a wrap up, but
Yeah, any other questions? No? Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, and thank you for being here. For those who may have logged on a little late on Instagram Live, I did want to just go over a couple quick logistics. We are Insight Counseling Centers. We are delighted to have an office here in Cookeville. It's inside of First United Methodist Church. If you would like to schedule counseling, the phone number is area code 615-383-2115. Extension 100 is our intake line, and extension, again, 615-383-2115, extension 2 is our Spanish line. So if someone, we do offer therapy in English and Spanish. Rebecca herself conducts sessions in English and Spanish. So the phone number, 615-383-2115, extension 100 for English, 2 for Spanish. Thank you so much for having us here. We're grateful to the Putnam County Library for hosting us, and we're in conversation with the library about some future events, so please stay tuned for those. Thank you.